Hi everyone, welcome to episode 7 of She Builds Tech Skills North America. I'm your host, Rajeshwari Maladi. I go by Raj. I'm a principal solutions architect here in New York City, and I have been with AWS for 4.5 years. I primarily work with our enterprise customers here in the US East, and it has been a pleasure being a host on these She Builds episodes. So, on the event of the National Women's History Month, we have been bringing sessions featuring women in AWS throughout the month. And you can view some of our, if you have missed the past sessions, you can view them on our um, YouTube channel. So, this is our channel, and please remember to subscribe to that as well. Today, we are actually bringing you two special guests, Pragya and Neha from our AWS Customer Solutions Manager team. And we are going to learn about their career journeys, their role as a CSM, some of the challenges that they have faced in their careers, and how they address them. So, if you have any questions for us throughout this session, please post them in the chat window, and we'll be more than happy to take them for you. So, with that said, hey Neha and Pragya, welcome to our show.
Thank you. Very excited to be here.
Thank you, Raj. Happy to
All
be.
right. Yeah, so let's kick this off. Can you both actually tell us a little bit about your background and how you got into tech? And just walk us through some of the career development and how you progress through your careers.
Do you want to go first,
So,
Neha?
Pragya, you want to go? Yeah, go
I could go.
ahead.
I could go. Yeah. I'm
You're
happy
the
to.
host.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. My name is Pragya. I lead a team of customer solutions manager for the U.S. East. I'm based out of Herndon, Virginia. I've been with AWS for 3.5 years. Prior to my role as a CSM leader, I was a solution architecture leader, and before that, I was a solution architect myself. My journey, if I kind of go back to my formative years, was looking into tech. It was influenced by my dad. He is a telecom engineer, is a telecommunications engineer, and he served in the military. But I remember that he used to get us curious about technology when we would go on road trips. He would quiz me on like antennas and towers all through the road trip because we didn't have phones then, so we would look out and be like, what kind of antenna is that? What kind of tower is that? It kind of gave me a sense of that technology is all around us and it enables us in the simplest ways in
Mhm.
our life, and we don't even realize that. So I'll say that kind of piqued my interest in tech. From there, I kind of followed in my dad's footsteps and studied electrical engineering. I got my bachelor's and master's, and I started my early career in telco, where I served as a network design engineer.
Oh, wow.
And over the years, I realized that I could, I was good at doing end-to-end delivery. So I took on leading teams, leading projects. From there, I think I did that for almost a decade before I decided to go into private equity, which was a totally different field. I helped set up a customer success function there, and also ran business operations. So learned a lot about business, good MBR updates and things like that, reporting up to the board. And they that company used to host a SaaS product on AWS, which kind of got me curious about the cloud. And from there, I came into AWS as a solution architect, focused on cloud operations. Went on to lead solution architecture teams, and then most recently here in my role as leading a CSM team for the Northeast.
Excellent. What a journey, right? Getting inspired in telecommunications and then actually pursuing that in your studies and the initial job, and then growing to be a leader. And that's a big switch to go from that to, private equity. And then, but I think all that breadth that you have gained over the years, I think it has helped you come on and take on the roles that you have in AWS, which need you to be more well rounded. So excellent. How about you, Neha?
Yes. So, hi everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are, looking into this show. So, I am Neha Bhavnagarwala. I'm a principal CSM supporting global strategic accounts here at AWS. I've been here for almost 2 years now, and I am based out of Ashburn, Virginia, working with the global team all across. We have teams in India, Europe, as well as the East and the West Coast. So my journey started almost about 3 decades ago. I would say even a little more than that. Uh, One of our Indian TV shows was, showing, broadcasting an interview of Shakuntala Devi, the
Oh,
human
wow.
computer. And I was in my middle school, just late middle school years. And when I watched that interview, I was very intrigued with what a computer can do. If a human can do
Mhm.
this, what would a real computer be capable of? And that's where I started. So I started looking for information about, how can I learn more about this? And I come from a family of mostly medical professionals and academicians. So at that time, there wasn't anybody in and around my close family circle that would be, giving me some guidance. But then I saw there were banners in the community where I lived back in India,
Mhm.
Mumbai, where they said, "Oh, there is a introductory computer course that is being offered during the summer holidays." So I went to my parents. I said, "I want to get enrolled. I want to learn about this." And I was absolutely thrilled. At the end of 2 months, I had written a code in basic language saying "Hello World," and that just got me excited. So in my senior year of my graduation, I took computers as a special subject, got more interested, and that's when I thought, yes, I would love to pursue a career in this field. So at that time, not many universities, public universities in India, were offering
Mhm.
a full-fledged master's program, but there was a private institute that was offering a course, which was honors in systems management. And the big, feather in the cap, I will say, that course became so popular was they were guaranteeing a job at the end of the program.
Oh, okay.
So I did that 1.5 year program, which was starting with COBOL programming and DBase, and then they would, put you into a job. So at the end of that program, I got placed into a data processing company. So that's really where my career journey began. So I was picking up punch cards from the operator room, coming back to my desk,
Oh,
writing
wow.
a COBOL program, writing a a character-based customer interface, which was called CICS at that time, and then doing some operating system programming, which was in DOS VSE. So that's where I started. And then there was a interest that kept growing, and that time it was DBase and Fox Pro. Further, it moved into client server technologies, and then as I started learning more about databases, relational databases were coming up at that time. So Oracle and Sybase were very popular. So there was a natural progression into relational database management systems, which further morphed into data warehousing, BI, ETL, analytics. And then I started consulting with the Big Five, got an opportunity to work with a lot of Fortune 500 companies, help them with their data strategies. And then over the last 7, 8 years, I'm working on cloud technologies. So my overall career can be looked into three segments. One is mainframes, second is databases, data warehousing, and now in cloud technologies. So that's how I began my career and have been progressing in this field.
Excellent. What
Excellent.
a wealth of technology that you bring here. And then you have actually seen almost the whole evolution, I would say. I think that's very impressive. Um, so going further into our program, actually, I know this is a CSM or customer solutions manager focused talk today, but before we dive further, Pragya, maybe you can take few minutes and tell us what the CSM role is about and what do CSMs do?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll kick us off, but Neha, I'd love to hear your perspective as well. The way I define it, CSMs are a force multiplier for when a customer is embarking on their cloud transformation journey. Some of these transformations can be very complex. as we look at our enterprise customers. And we at AWS have a lot of folks there to help, specialists from all areas, and as well as technology domains. And we propose these solutions to our customers of how to get to that transformation. The CSM is there to accelerate that. They will take that strategy and convert it into an execution plan, and that could be over, several years. But they
Mm-hmm.
will break it down to, demystify it like that, for a customer. And it could be also in the form of, aligning executive stakeholders, helping develop new ways of working in the cloud, so people, process, as well as technology. And overall, the goal is to reduce the customer's time to value from the cloud, as well as improve their end-to-end experience as they're embarking on this really complex journey into the cloud.
Excellent. And then, so how do you get started on the strategy? You mentioned there is a strategy, and then can you just tell our viewers some more about it?
Yeah, absolutely. And we work backwards from our customers from there, because
Mm-hmm.
everybody's strategy is aligned to whether it's their industry segment, whether it's their
Mm-hmm.
short-term goal or their long-term goal. So, we work backwards from what value they are trying to achieve from the cloud in the long term, and then
Mm-hmm.
break it down into, individual initiatives that we can help, in a quantifiable way, lead it to that. So I'd say the strategic vision comes from where the customer is trying to go and what value they're trying to derive. It could be transforming the way that they
Mm-hmm.
develop their products, could be transforming the way that they envision their own business of where they want to go, because they are meeting the demands of their own end customers. So the CSM comes in to like help refine that strategy along with other members of from the AWS team, and then
Mm-hmm.
put that execution plan in place, that we can track whether we're going towards that value or not.
And what kind of at the customer, what kind of personas are you typically working with, building all this with the customer?
Yeah, I'll say the breadth is what is kind of amazing, because we'll do, digital envisioning sessions with the C-suite of a
Mm-hmm.
customer one day, and another day, we're there helping them with operational readiness with, their operations team.
Mm-hmm.
So it'll really like vary depending on what we're focusing on. If we're trying to do that executive alignment, then we're working with their top leaders.
Mm-hmm.
But if we're figuring out ways of working, that how are you going to develop your operating model in the cloud for tomorrow, we are
Mm-hmm.
working with the folks that are, boots on the ground.
Right.
Excellent, excellent. Sounds very interesting. So Neha, coming to you, so I know you had like a quite a big journey there. So what interested you in the CSM role, and how are you able to apply the skills that you gained over the years, right? How are you applying those to your CSM role?
Sure. Yeah. So I think what really interested me in the role when I was talking to the recruiter about this role and I understood the responsibilities, I think the first key factor that really impressed me was the fungibility of this role. And when I say fungibility, I mean the way I can use my current skills and apply my current skills, but then also have the flexibility to learn new skills and make sure that while doing all this, I'm also being a thought leader for my customer to make my customer successful in their cloud journey. So the point that Pragya brought up about the
Mm-hmm.
breadth of the role is something that was very, very interesting for me because after spending time in the IT industry for all these years, we
Mm-hmm.
all are very I would say agile enough to make sure that you are learning new skills, and that is how you got to stay relevant. That is how you can make a difference when you're sitting in a room. You want to
Mm-hmm.
participate, you want to add value. So this role was allowing me to do that with my background, with my
Mm-hmm.
experience in technology, with my experience as a delivery lead, and then it was giving me the opportunity to learn new skills. So that was the first thing I
Mm-hmm.
would say. The second thing was you are being an orchestrator. As we
Mm-hmm.
all know, AWS is huge. When a customer embarks on their cloud journey, to make that journey smooth, you have to orchestrate between various teams, not just within AWS, but even outside of AWS. So that
Mm-hmm.
orchestration part of it, where for the enablement of the customer team, you're working with your cloud fluency and enablement team to make
Mm-hmm.
sure that you are bringing the right strategic partners or the system integrators to the table. You are working with the partner team. Within
Mm-hmm.
AWS, we have all these different services. So, and there are different programs that will help our customer, accelerate their cloud journey. So, working with these programs. So, that kind of orchestration across the board was
Mm-hmm.
something that also attracted me quite a bit to this particular role. So, in simple words, when I heard about the breadth of this role and all the opportunities that it was bringing to the table, I in my mind it was like, yes, I found my professional ikigai. I know now this is where I belong. This is what I want to do, and that's how I got started.
Yeah, very, very interesting. Actually, I think this gives you an opportunity to apply all your skills because of the breadth the role provides, and then the amount of responsibility in terms of, like, working with the partner teams, working with the product teams, working with the customer, and then even there, like, working with like multiple teams within the customer itself. Like, I think that's really interesting.
And
Uh,
you asked the second
mm-hmm.
part. You
Yeah.
asked the second part of the question, like how do you apply skills? So
Yes.
one of the examples I would say is, yes, during I have a day job as a CSM doing all this, but
Mm-hmm.
then given my background and interest in data and analytics field, I am leading a work stream for
Mm-hmm.
developing a data strategy for our customer. And when I say leading, here I'm playing a role of a technology leader. At times,
Mm-hmm.
I'm playing the role of a consultant, and at times, I'm also playing my pure role of a CSM, where I'm bringing the right experts to the team, participating in deep dive discussions on reference architectures, and
Mm-hmm.
helping build an approach for the future data vision that my customer has. So all of that is where I get, that's my happy place. I get a lot of opportunity to leverage the experience I have in the data field.
That's really interesting, especially the years of experience you have in the databases, data analytics. I think that's great that you are able to apply that as well, and actually influencing the customer, right? Like basically building the strategy and then influencing the customer.
Yeah.
So that's really interesting. And
Yeah.
Pragya, coming to you, I know you wore multiple hats even at AWS. So how did you transition into the CSM role? If you can tell our viewers something about that as well.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And I started, I think I said this in the beginning. So in my
Mm-hmm.
3.5 years at AWS, I started as a solution architect, then grew into a people manager role, managing a team of solution architects, and now leading a team of CSMs. So I'll say, like, let me start by the CSM. I'll say my motivations are like threefold when I looked at the CSM role. I think, as Neha mentioned as well, I think the breadth of it, I found it quite fascinating. It's almost hard to box it, of the limits, the boundaries, the guardrails of the role.
Mm-hmm.
So I could bring the learnings and the technical pillar that I think that was like kind of my strength in the SA role very easily into the CSM role, but then also stretch myself to learn some of the other aspects that come with the role, which is, as you said, influencing the customer with a different lens, the strategy
Mm-hmm.
lens. I'll give you an example. In the CSM organization, leaders are encouraged to go and get certified as culture of innovation speakers, which is talking
Mm-hmm.
about how Amazon does things. And for me, that was fascinating, right? We're encouraging folks to build that muscle that we can talk and share our knowledge with our customers, because customers are interested in that as well. How do you do it? How does Amazon do it? So kind of learning that part. So for me, the first factor was this, this breadth that comes with, you take your technology background,
Mm-hmm.
and that's kind of your strength, and then you build on that the strategy lens, and the business lens, and it's limitless how you can influence the customer once you do that.
The video has paused, Raj.
Yeah, yeah. I think maybe we'll come to Neha. Maybe we can come to you. I think Pragna is having some connectivity issue. So
Oh,
yeah, we can talk about. We'll wait for her to come back.
sure.
So maybe Neha, in the meanwhile, maybe you can tell us, like So we'll come back to Pragya, and then so that she can complete her response there. But then I think maybe in the meanwhile, you can tell us how what has helped you to be successful in your CSM role.
Yeah, so a couple of things, right? Just to continue with one of the points that Pragya was bringing up, right?
Mm-hmm.
The the spread of this role, the span of this role is so broad that it is limitless. I mean, you cannot really draw a clear boundary to it. And I feel as a CSM supporting a global strategic account, uh,
Mm-hmm.
those lines are really, really blurry. Uh, and then, of course, not to mention the year that we are in, where,
Uh-huh.
we have to do more with less, which means
Right, right.
at times I am wearing the hat of a program manager, and then at other times, I'm deep diving on a reference architecture discussion, or at other times, I am in an operational role, giving the
Mm-hmm.
customer a breakout of their AWS usage services that
Mm-hmm.
that were incurred in the expenses on the services that were incurred in the last 2 quarters. So there are various slices and dices of this role, which
Mm-hmm.
sometimes can be challenging. And putting that boundary is, I won't say it is necessary, but acknowledging that there is an overlap, acknowledging that there are going to be gray spaces. And because of that, I think the very first thing anybody who is interested or in getting started in this role should be doing is be very clear on the expectations of the role.
Mm-hmm.
Talk to
Right.
your manager, understand what your peers are doing in different levels of accounts across the board. uh, Meet with your manager, sit down and understand what are the 4 or 5 or 6 things that he or she wants you to focus on. So
Mm-hmm.
bringing clarity to the expectations, I think, is of utmost importance in this role. Very, very critical. That's number one. And I have tried to do that more so when there are the more the overlap, the more lively my one-on-one discussions are with my managers as well, my direct managers as well as my dotted line managers. So that's the first part. The second part, I think, is you've got to be very organized. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
you multiple days you are drinking out of a fire hose,
Mm-hmm.
and you want to make sure that when you are being an orchestrator working with all these other teams, customers, other product teams within AWS, sometimes partners, you have to be very, very organized, and you have to be a ruthless in your prioritizing.
Prioritization. Got
Yeah,
it. Got
ruthless
it.
prioritization. And that way, if you're able to manage your time and
Mm-hmm.
give the right attention to the right to your prioritized tasks, I think
Mm-hmm.
that will be a important factor as well. And third, and the most important thing, we all are
Mm-hmm.
customer obsessed, right? It is one of our top LPs, customer obsession. So
Mm-hmm.
when we talk about customer obsession, internal or external customer, I think you have to be a good listener and listen to understand, not listening to respond. That's the key. When
Mm-hmm.
you listen and understand the topics, the issues, the concerns the customer is bringing to you, you never know. It can open multiple gateways of opportunities for you and your team. So, listening skills are really, really important. So, I think those are my three top, things that I have tried to inculcate
Okay.
as
Mm-hmm.
I got into this role over the last 2 years.
Got it. Got it. Basically, having a very clear expectations on the role, especially the scope that it has, right? I think
Exactly.
that making sure, I think, and then the prioritization, listener, that's great, great items you mentioned, Neha. And then the other related question I have is, I know you joined this role, and were there any gaps, or things that you had to pick up to get in, and how did you identify, how did you go about identify, if at all, first of all the question is, were there any gaps, and if there are gaps, how did you go about identifying it, and how did you go about addressing it?
Sure. So, gaps, in my experience and my knowledge, yes,
Mm-hmm.
definitely. Uh, being a technologist all this while, and to some extent, of course, as a program manager, delivery lead, I have seen the one side of this equation, right? I have not uh, been, able to dive into the operational pieces as much,
Mm-hmm.
calculations,
Okay.
the operational and the business pieces, I will say, calculations of ARRs, or
Mm.
the discounting program, the pricing program, how we give credits to the customer for their usage services. That whole thing is a black box for me. And
Mm-hmm.
as I started working in this role, I started tapping into those areas and started learning about, hey, tell me more about what is this credits, and how do we calculate it?
Mm.
How are we building our private pricing agreements with the customer?
Mm.
What is there is a concept of strategic collaboration agreements, SCAs. That
Mm-hmm.
was completely gray area for me. So there were gaps, and learning about those and trying to be a part of those discussions, I think, has helped me close those gaps. So that is one part of your question, I believe.
Yes, yes. Yeah, I think, yeah, my question was like, how did you find the gaps and how did you go about addressing? But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, the whole pricing, and then that whole, it can be pretty complex, right? Especially when you're working on the stack that we have, and that's very interesting. Yeah.
And I didn't have to go find, because I would get a request from
Mm-hmm.
one of our operational team members, or sometimes from the customer. Hey, Neha, can you tell me what are our discount rates for these services? And I'm like, okay, I need to go back and start. So I didn't have to go find the problem. The problem came and found me.
Right, right.
That
No,
was
that's called the ongoing learning on the job,
yeah,
right? That we
right.
all have, and which is pretty exciting as well. Hey Pragya, welcome back. I know we lost you there for a minute. So yeah, we were just talking to Neha in the meanwhile. But then I think you are there anything? I think we were chatting with you about your transition in the CSM role. Anything you want to conclude in that topic?
Yes, I'll go over. I don't know when you lost me because it suddenly started to Windows started
Yeah.
to disappear from me. So I'll recap. There were three big motivators for me. One was being able to expand the breadth,
Uh huh.
using my technical background as a strength, and then finding new ways to stretch myself, which is to influence the customer in strategic and
Mm-hmm.
business ways. The second was that I got an opportunity to start a brand new team. When I
Mm-hmm.
joined the CSM leader role in the US East. And for me, that was really exciting. I still tell my team we're like a startup. So you're like a startup in a very, very
Mm-hmm.
stable place. But it pushes us all to think about our identity of the impact we're having, about innovating new ways for the customer. So doing more with less. So I really enjoy that opportunity, getting folks together, and everybody has an equal voice about what work we're taking on, and what impact we're having. And the third one for me, I truly believe if you have the ability, find people that you like working with. And that was my other
Mm-hmm.
thing, right? You're just much more motivated when people around you are raising the bar. And there were leaders in the CSM org that I really was looking for an opportunity to work with when
Mm-hmm.
the opportunity presented itself. So I was just keen to just work with them, and that was my third motivation, that it influenced me to consider this role, and I'm glad I did.
It's very interesting. Actually, now I got curious. Like you said, you had to start a brand new team. So what was different, and what was the challenge that you rose up to and then worked on?
Yeah, yeah, great question. And I think the challenge was, as we said, the CSM role has a lot of breadth. So we got in folks to join the team with very diverse backgrounds. Somebody came from very specific industry knowledge. Somebody came from very specific customer-facing experience. So it
Mm-hmm.
was really, you don't have one thing that this is what good looks like. Everyone is bringing their own diverse perspective, diverse industry knowledge, learnings from customer deliveries and cloud transformation, and all are welcome. And it just makes us, we just have to figure out what we do and how we complement each other as a team. And I think the challenge that we're I wouldn't call it a challenge, it's an opportunity. We're still, we every day or at least every week talk about our impact, because we're
Mm-hmm.
all busy, we do the work, but like take a step back. Is the work we are working on having an impact? And I think that
Right.
has, that it's kind of served me well where I've been before, and it serves me in terms of like talking to my team as well. And we all need to build that muscle. So I'll say that's kind of the challenge slash opportunity, because it is a new role and a new team. We
Mm-hmm.
constantly think about our impact, to our customer, to our thought leadership, to our CSM community. Are we scaling what we're doing, kind of thing. So I'll say
Right.
that's like both a challenge and opportunity.
Excellent. Excellent. Thanks for sharing that, Pragya.
Yeah. Thank you for bearing with me as I figure
Oh
out
yeah.
the connection.
No problem. Um, so so Neha, coming to you, right? So you have kind of navigated quite a bit in your career, working through different technologies, and then we see that tech changes every 5 years, right? There's new stuff coming. So, how are you able to keep up with all these changes throughout your career? So, and again, learn and be curious is also one of a key LPs that we have, leadership principles that we have at AWS. So, because that is something that kind of intimidates many people. So, if you can tell us how you handled it and addressed it.
Yeah, sure. So, when I started my first job, it was a mainframe computer uh, setup, and we were upgrading some operating systems, or some applications were getting upgraded. So we had a consultant coming in from IBM, and she was a woman, and I was the only woman in my team. So I was asked to tag along with her and be her kind of escort for her lunch, or for any of those logistical things. So as I started meeting her and working closely with her, observing her, one of those times we were out for lunch, and I said, "How are you doing this? Like, this is such a new field, and I mean,
Mm-hmm.
she had earned a lot of respect from our company, and within her company, within IBM, we had met her team. So what she told me is, Neha, if you want to grow in this field, you want to build a career, you're serious about this, be open to learning.
Mm.
There is no alternative to this. This field is changing so fast that if you want to continue working in this, you got to learn, you got to keep yourself updated with the latest and greatest knowledge. And I took that advice very seriously.
Mm-hmm.
Within I think 6 months or so, I had enrolled myself in an upgraded IBM mainframe coding program.
Mm-hmm.
And then since then, almost every 2 years or 3 years, depending on how life is going on for you, I try to learn a new technology that I haven't dabbled into in the past. I try to get myself certified, more so for self validation, that
Right,
yes,
right.
I know this technology. Or and of course, I try to keep my I'll say connection with the experts in that field. So
Mm-hmm.
either have a mentor, have a coach.
Mm-hmm.
So meeting my mentor, my so-called informal mentor, who was my master's degree professor.
Mm-hmm.
She's a very well-known data person. So I try to keep in touch with her, meet her when she used to be in Virginia, meet her for coffee or lunch, and then try to get her advice on what next is coming. What do you think is coming next in this field, or what should I do so that more opportunities open up for me. So keeping yourself updated with the latest and greatest, I think that is the biggest thing you can do to pursue a career in this field. And then finding your clan,
Mm-hmm.
finding the people around you who can help support you grow in this field, and obviously you give back also. So
Yeah.
times when my mentor, my coach had reached out to me, hey Neha, can you, so she's an
Mm.
academic,
Mm-hmm.
so he was doing research in big data. So Neha, can you spread this survey because I'm collecting some sample data for my research paper. That's how you give back. So it's a community that you build around yourself, that you help grow, and the community in turn helps you grow. I think that is an important way to keep yourself growing in this field.
Yeah, I'll add one anecdote here because this is funny.
Sure.
This is kind of how Neha and I met, like growing your community and finding people.
Mm-hmm.
I had done a session that was, up available, and Neha watched the session and reached out to me saying, I really enjoyed your session. It turns out we were both local, and so then we just, decided to meet for coffee, and here we are. So I plus, one to that, like find
Mm-hmm.
people to add to your community that support you. They're a sounding board. They help you grow, and you give back, pay it forward as well.
Exactly.
No, yeah, no, that's great to hear. I know all the things that you guys mentioned, like, keeping up with technology, that constant learning, certifications, working with people. I think the having mentors and also giving back, being the mentee, I think those are all great ways. And definitely it has worked for both of you. So definitely, I think something for our viewers to take back as well.
Hmm.
And Pragya, I think one thing I would like to know from you is that what are some steps that you have taken in meeting your career aspirations, right? So you have navigated quite a bit of going from your networking, telecommunications to private equity to then coming into different leadership roles. And so how did you meet your career aspirations that you have?
Yeah, that's a great question. It's also a big, heavy one. So
Mhm.
I'll let me go back to I guess I'll say like to my formative years, which I
Mhm.
spent a lot of those early years in India. And I grew up in a very supportive environment. My parents put a lot of emphasis on education. My like I said, my dad was my role model to go get my master's,
Mhm.
my bachelor's. But there was always this sense around me that, girls were not supposed to be too ambitious. It's almost like a bad word. Like, you can do all these things, be good at them. My grades were always like, top notch, and my parents cared about my grades. But like, let's not be too ambitious. I kind of saw that around me as well. Like, my mom has a master's degree in Sanskrit, but she never really fully pursued a typical career, if you will, in that. And she was home taking care of my sister and myself. Um, so it was all, this was around me, and I kind of took that in to be like, I'm
Mhm.
good at what I do, but let's stay in our lane. Let's not be too ambitious. And it was almost a bad word, but I'll say, that's when I look at career aspirations, tying it to your question. I don't think I built a lot of those for myself.
Mhm.
They came to me with a mindset shift, if you will, which I'll say, in quite honesty, it's probably happened in the last decade or so, a little less than a decade, where I've, kind of said, it's you can call it whatever you want, but it's your ability to realize that you're good at something. It's the
Mm.
ability to raise your hand that I'd like to try something else. It might be different and scary, and I might
Mhm.
fail, but I'd like to give it a try. And that kind of took a little courage, and I think it's because of that, the mindset shift that I consciously did. And what you might end up on the flip side is a lot of stuff on your plate because you
Mhm.
have a hand for a lot of things. So you have to prioritize as well. Like I
Mm.
we all do that, but like you have to think, yeah, I want to get here, but I only have, I'm one person. I have a work life balance that I'd like to strike. So that prioritization comes in. But ambition aside, it's helped me develop a growth mindset, which has
Mhm.
helped, I think, in relation to career aspirations, because it's helped me analyze, like, every now and then I'll sit and think about, am I growing? Am I pushing myself? Am I doing work that's meaningful and it's fun and I'm learning something, as we talk
Mm-hmm.
about, right? Continuous learning, whether it's technical, whether it's a new skill. So I'll say that has, coincidentally resulted in career aspirations. But I'll say the big thing is, shifting my mindset around that.
That's very interesting to know. And would you mind telling us like what caused the switch? Was it like some other people that you saw got inspired or something that what caused that? Because that's a really important thing to have, because many people are like, okay, I'm in this comfort zone, let me be here, not move. Then, like, there's always that fear, right, getting out of your comfort zone. So can you tell us like how you made that's a big switch, and that has a lot of great positive impact. So
Yeah, and I wish I could say like this was the day that this happened. It was more like chipping away at a rock, like slowly, slowly chipping away. And I think it came from, I think the earliest that I can think of is that I think I was doing work and
mm-hmm,
I was doing a good job. I was, kind of bar raising on the work that I was doing, and it was getting recognized, which made me
mm-hmm,
think like, why can't I do more? Like this person is doing it; they're doing such a good job, and it's also the encouragement of people. I remember the first time
mm-hmm.
that a senior female leader came to tell me out of the crowd to say that was a really good presentation that you did, and I was just like, you saw it. Oh, this is amazing. So it's also the influence that other people have, that you respect, and they come back, and it builds your confidence to say, I think I can do this, I think I can do more. um, and over time, it's that thing, like you want more for yourself, you want to stretch yourself, and you take on more, and not every all of them work out, but at
Mm-hmm.
least
Right.
you don't have regrets that you didn't try. So I think it's that risk taking. You
Risk
suddenly
take,
become
got it.
comfortable with it, like I'm going to go pitch an idea and it may not work out, and that's okay. And I feel like I'll say at Amazon, I really enjoy, our narrative writing style and things like that, where everyone is welcome to bring an idea to the table.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Knowing that not all ideas will be picked up, but
Right.
we're forced to think about it. That's why we
Yeah,
have
yeah.
these big exercises in our operational business to
Mm-hmm.
think of ideas, write about it, present it, get good feedback. But yeah, that's a long-winded way to answer your question. There wasn't a one point, but I think it's knowing that you're doing a good job, getting that acknowledgement, and I kind of say that to like that I mentor as well
Yeah,
as
yeah.
my team. Right, it's important to either get that feedback from your circle or give that to people as well. When you see someone, especially if they're like early in their career, they did that first presentation in front of a customer, go out of your way and tell them like that was amazing, you did great.
Yeah, yeah.
It's going to help them in that longer term.
Yeah, I mean, we all are human beings, right? We all want recognition, and we want to lift each other up, right? To be successful. So absolutely, I think that recognition, that push, that encouragement plays a huge role
Yeah,
in
yeah.
how you're progressing in your career.
Excellent, excellent. Yeah, I think the message probably here is to ensure you're surrounded with people that are able to, like, positive
Lift you up.
encouragement that they're able to give, and also give it back, right? Do the same thing again when you get a chance.
Yeah.
No, these are actually excellent points that you guys have discussed today. So, what are some messages or key advice you have for our audience, just from your learnings? If Neha, if you want to start.
Sure. Yeah, I think a couple of things I would say, uh, building up on a few points that we already have covered, and we just talked about it also with Pragya. But I think you want to stay relevant. You want to stay connected because this it is all about how, not necessarily always about the depth of the knowledge, but the breadth of the knowledge. Because I mean, we have so many services in AWS, right? So obviously we are not going to be knowing in depth about each and every service, but knowing how to find the right people, how to make
Mm-hmm.
sure that you are leading the customer in the path of success.
Mm-hmm.
So that is what I mean by staying relevant, staying connected. So that's number one. Number two, we as women, we hold back. We do not openly talk about our ideas, and we have some brilliant ones. I'm pretty sure we all here are smart women and wise enough to bring new ideas to the table, think out of the box. So be, be bold, be persistent. When
Mm.
when there are times when you feel okay, one, two, three times you've been shot down for whatever reasons. Maybe your idea was not great enough. Maybe somebody else took away your idea. Maybe that idea did not really apply to that scenario. Whatever the reason is, don't give up. Be persistent, continue pushing along, and ask for a seat at the table,
Mm-hmm.
because that's the only way people are people around you are going to notice, people around you are going to acknowledge that yes, you have that spirit, you have that knowledge, and
Mm-hmm.
have the wisdom to give your opinions, give your ideas. So be bold. I think those are the two big things. Find a mentor, guys. Find a coach. uh, you absolutely need a sounding board. And I was lucky when I started at AWS. I had a great buddy, so she helped me understand those various teams and services, and how the CSM role makes an impact, and the visibility of the role, etc. So that is when you start in the role, and as you grow in the role, continue to get coached, continue to find a mentor. So that way, when there are days when things look
Mm-hmm.
great and days when you are frustrated, we all are going to have those days. Let's not kid around. Those days are going to be there. So you want to have a sounding board. Talk to your coach, talk to your mentor, talk to your peers about, hey, this is what is going on. Somebody senior in this role who is more seasoned, maybe that
Mm-hmm.
person give you some advice or give you a different perspective that will make you think in a different direction. So those are my three top things, I would say.
Excellent. And Pragya, how about you?
I'll take three as well. I think the first thing I'll say is, if you're a she builder, or if you don't see a lot of people like you in the room, don't let anybody tell you that you do not belong. You belong where you want to be, and the way to get there is learn and be curious, right? As Neha said, um, you know, work hard, do the research, learn the skills, whether it's technical, business, whatever that is,
Mm-hmm.
and you do belong, right? Don't let anybody tell you you don't belong. The second thing I'll say is take that risk, right? Learn
Mm.
from me. Not all risks pay off, but go ahead and take it, right? And it could be like in the form of trying something new, right? If you're
Right.
somebody who's already working, ask your manager, like, hey, is there something you are doing that I can take off your plate? It's a chance for me to try something new. And
Mm.
the way to find it is like, ask your manager, you're doing this prep for this 2 by 2 or MBR or WBR. Can I lead it this time? It's just an example, but like, be curious and go ahead and take that risk, and try something new. And the third thing I'll say, like back to my example of how I was compelled by technology around me. If you're thinking about a career in technology, know that it is more than technology. It's an opportunity to have a larger impact to your community, to the industry, to customers. And with sustainability right now tied so tightly to technology, even our planet. So it's much bigger than you might think this is a tech field, but it's the impact is it's unsurmountable. So consider that career in tech.
Excellent, excellent. Those are some great insights. Thanks for providing that. So I think with that we kind of come towards the end of our session. So I would like to really thank, on behalf of the Shebill's Tech Skills team, I would really want to thank Pragya and Neha for taking time to come and talk to us today. It was really great to hear about their career journeys and the CSM role, the challenges, how they have actually progress in their careers and all that. So I think these were some great insights, and I hope our audience got some things that they could take away and apply in their day-to-day jobs. And I would like to remind everyone on the call that please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Like, we have several sessions that we keep bringing, so do subscribe so that you can keep yourself updated. And we will look forward to seeing you again in a future show. Thanks, everyone.
Thank
Thank
you so
you.
much, Raj. Thanks, folks.
Thanks.
Bye.